Welcome to the Let Me Bend Your Ear podcast. My name is Frank. I'm the host of the show. Thank you for joining me for this episode. On this episode, I will not be reviewing a movie. I just heard earlier today that actor Val Kilmer has passed away at the age of 65. So I want to use this episode to discuss his career and my knowledge of his work and how I was a big fan of his, as many people were around the world. So before I get into that, again, this is a podcast where I discuss movies new and old, and you can follow the show on X at Bend Your Ear Pod, which is also the handle for Instagram. You can like and subscribe to the YouTube page if you want to watch this on video. The video version is also on X. Again, at Bend Your Ear is the handle. You can search Let Me Bend Your Ear podcast on YouTube or wherever you do your searches, and you'll be able to pull up the podcast. You can listen to this podcast wherever you get your podcasts. It's available on most of the popular platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Podbean, Castbox. You can pretty much get it anywhere. And if you listen to this podcast, if you could subscribe, and wherever you listen or watch, if you can rate and review, that'll also increase the visibility of the show for people that are looking for a new movie podcast. So if you could do that, I really appreciate it. If you have the ability to support the show financially, you see a QR code right up here. You can just click on that, or you can go to the X page of the show at Bend Your Ear Pod and click on the tip bar. That helps offset the cost of putting the show on and the website, etc. So let me go ahead and get right into Val Kilmer. So this morning, I saw the news that he had passed away at the age of 65. So, of course, I know Val Kilmer's health has been an issue for the last, decade and a half, maybe. I know he was diagnosed with throat cancer, and in treating that cancer, I think he actually was able to successfully battle it, but the resulting damage to his throat caused him to lose his voice, the ability to really use his voice, which, of course, for an actor, that's a tough thing. So I know he had been going through those challenges. So for me, I am Gen X. So if you are Gen X like me, actually, you don't have to be Gen X like me. If you are a fan of 80s movies, so 80s movies are my sweet spot. That was basically ages 10 to 20 for me, the 80s. So I'm right there in Gen X. And if you are a fan of 80s movies or Gen X like me, Val Kilmer is a huge part of your movie going experience. So it's funny for me. I know a lot of people, in reading tributes and things about Kilmer today, a lot of people knew him from his first film, Real Genius. And the other thing he's best known for is Top Gun, and I'll get to that in a minute. But I'm going to actually start, for me, the first movie I actually saw Val Kilmer in. And this is before he was a star, but this is one of his, I think, maybe his earliest leading role. He was in the film Top Secret. Now, a lot of people that are listening to this show, especially if they're not hardcore movie people, have never heard of Top Secret, and I completely understand. So to give you some context on that film, so Top Secret was directed by the team of Zucker, Abrams, and Zucker. And if those names sound familiar, they directed the fantastic 1980 spoof Airplane, and also directed the TV show Police Squad, and then which was made into the Naked Gun series of movies. So those two properties are huge. Airplane, of course, and I haven't reviewed Airplane for this podcast. I will at some point. I saw Airplane in the movies when I was a kid. I think my mom took me to see it. And what I will say about Airplane is that's one of those movies, maybe not so much as Blazing Saddles, but that movie would never get made today. And a lot of that stuff in that movie is a PG-rated film, was not appropriate for a 10-year-old. I'm sure my mom was actually, to her credit, she was probably horrified by some of the things that were in the movie, but she didn't let on, and it was good, all good. So I appreciate my mom letting me see Airplane, but I will definitely review it. But Airplane was a huge hit. They made a sequel to Airplane, which the Zuckers had nothing to do with. So their second film ended up being Top Secret, which was a spoof of kind of two things at once, actually: the spy movie, James Bond genre, and Elvis movies. And I know that sounds like an odd combination. So Val Kilmer's character in that film is Nick Rivers, who is a singer who is recruited to go on a spy mission. That's basically, so then it's got the same silliness as the airplane movies and their style of humor. Absurdist, ridiculous humor, multiple levels of visual jokes within each scene. That's one of the best reasons to watch Top Secret. You can watch that movie a few times. There's like three or four things going on visually in each scene, and you see that in Airplane as well. That's why the genius of the Zuckers and Jim Abrams to bring that style of comedy to the screen in a successful way. So I saw Top Secret actually in the movies as well, knowing that it was from the directors of Airplane. So that came out in 1984, I believe. And that movie flopped hard. It was a flop. And some of the things that were great about him, one, he's fantastic in the movie. It's a comedic role, which is where kind of Val Kilmer started between that and Real Genius. Real Genius I have not seen, and I probably will. I'll revisit it. One, it's an 80s movie, and two, it's a blind spot that I haven't seen. But in Top Secret, he sung songs that Nick River sings, and he does all his singing in the movie, which is fantastic. And it's like 50 style songs. He sings all the songs in the movie. The movie is very funny. I highly recommend it if you're a fan of Airplane. It is a very good movie. Like I said, a lot of you probably have never heard of the movie if you're not an 80s movie aficionado. So I'm not surprised, but I would definitely check that out. So, of course, he did Real Genius in 1985, which is a big cult hit. A lot of people know the movie. I mean, I've heard of the film, haven't seen the movie. I know he plays a really smart, I want to say not chemistry, but scientist that ends up getting recruited to a school where they're trying to get something created. And he's just a smart aleck, kind of smart ass character who's brilliant. And the scenes that I've seen of Real Genius today that have been posted online, very funny, it's not surprising. So, of course, moving through his career, and the next year, 1986, is Top Gun. So, of course, everyone has heard of Top Gun, whether you've seen the movie, not seen the movie, like the movie, don't like the movie. It's an iconic 80s film, of course, starring Tom Cruise, Anthony Edwards, Val Kilmer, Michael Ironside. Great cast, directed by the late, great Tony Scott. Of course, fantastic movie. It still holds up to this day. And one thing that I did not know in reading today, the tributes to Val Kilmer, was that he is in that movie for 10 minutes of screen time. And I think that movie is an hour and 45, if I remember right, hour 50. He's in that movie for 10 minutes. And the person that posted, I'm going to steal their quote, but that's what I was thinking too. That's how good he is. That's what a good actor Val Kilmer was. In 10 minutes of screen time, to have that much of an impact, the fact that I was shocked that he was only in that movie for 10 minutes. I always equate it to, because you see this example all the time, Heath Ledger's performance, Oscar-winning performance in The Dark Knight, and I forgot how many minutes of screen time he had. It may have been 20. It's something very, very small. And he made such an impact in such a small amount of time, you swear that he was in the entire movie. But Val Kilmer, and when I thought about it after seeing that post, and I was thinking about the movie, I've seen Top Gun, I don't know how many times. And when you think about it, he's not in the movie that much. He's in it at the beginning when when he gets to the school. There's a couple of interactions with conversations with him and Maverick, and then of course more he's not in the movie that much. And he made such an impact as that character that you swear that he's in the entire movie. So that's a tribute to his talent. So, of course, that movie breaks him out into stardom. And from there, it's kind of a mixed bag. So as Val Kilmer's star is ascending, he's making other movies in the 80s. And I had his IMDb pulled up. Let me pull up. I'm going to go back in here because I don't want to skip things. I've got it in chronological order because I'm going to go through the prism of how I've seen him in movies. Every time he was in a movie that I watched, he was always fantastic. Always fantastic. So after Top Gun, the next big picture that he did was 1988's Willow, which was directed by Ron Howard with a story by George Lucas. I remember the time Willow came out, huge deal. Lucas, of course, being who he is, Star Wars fame. And Ron Howard had embarked on his successful career in directing. So, he had directed Cocoon in 1986, and that was a huge hit. Splash in 1984, before that, was a huge hit. And, of course, his breakout film was Night Shift with Michael Keaton and Henry Winkler. But Willow was a big-budget fantasy film, and Val Kilmer played Mad Mardigan, a swordsman who is going through this world with Warwick Davis and Joanne Whaley, who would be his wife. So I remember that film. I remember liking the movie, but I know it was a financial disappointment in the States. I think it did well worldwide. And I know obviously a lot of people love that film. And they made a series on Disney Plus a couple of years back. I think it only lasted one season. Warwick Davis participated, but Val Kilmer did not. I think probably more due to his health issues. I think he loved that movie, loved making that movie. So I think it was more of an issue of his ability to be able to speak, which was severely limited due to the surgery for his throat cancer. So in 1991, for me, was a performance. In the next early 90s is really, for me, what solidified him as what a fantastic actor he really was. So Oliver Stone's The Doors movie opened in 1991. Now, I saw The Doors and because one, I was a huge fan of Oliver Stone, still am. And I'm not a fan of The Doors at all. So for me, what was great about The Doors movie, and I know the movie was think it was commercially okay. I think it was critically received mixed reviews, but two things about the movie that were fantastic. One was the songs that Oliver Stone picked for the film made me appreciate the Doors music a little bit more than I would have. I was not a fan of the Doors at all, actually. Like I said, I saw the movie because it was Oliver Stone, and he's always interesting. And it's funny because in 91, JFK also came out. So he released two movies that year, which is crazy. And JFK, I'll review on another podcast. But Val Kilmer's performance as Jim Morrison was unbelievable. I remember reading stuff at the time. He went full method on it. He basically prepared for one full year to portray Jim Morrison, and does a fantastic job. Now, I don't know if Morrison, fanatics think it's good, bad. I can only go by, I have no affinity for Jim Morrison either way. I thought it was a fantastic performance based on whatever footage I had seen of Morrison either performing or giving interviews, which is not a whole bunch. But his performance was fantastic, which made the movie very watchable for me. So The Doors was where I'm like, wow, Val Kilmer is a serious actor, artist. And his next film, which I think is another underseen and underrated film, which is Thunderheart, where he plays a detective, I think an FBI agent that's investigating a murder on an Indian reservation. Now, I haven't seen this movie in a long time. I remember really enjoying it and enjoying his performance in it. The movie is directed by Michael Apted. I won't get that much into it. Sam Shepard's in it as well, just to say it's another movie that I think was not commercially successful. So if you are a Val Kilmer fan, that may be one that you have not seen. So I would definitely recommend that as well. Like I said, another good performance. And then I'm going to fast forward to 1993. So this film, Tombstone. So I know most people know Tombstone, and I know people that are not even, if you're not a Val Kilmer fan, I think you even know, if you know of his career. Of course, Tombstone tells the story, the Wired Earp story, which was told actually another time in another Wired Earp film directed and written by Lawrence Kasdan with Kevin Costner. And I think Dennis Quaid played Doc Holliday in that version. But Val Kilmer is Doc Holliday with Kurt Russell's Wired Earp, and also had Bill Paxton, Sam Elliott. Actually, the cast in that movie is fantastic. I even forgot Stephen Lang's in it. You've got a Billy Bob Thornton early performance in there. Stephen Lang, Powers Booth, Jason Priestley's in it, it's just Billy Zane, Michael Biehn, just a phenomenal cast. And I will review Tombstone probably in the near future. I haven't watched it in a long time. It's a phenomenal movie. And within that phenomenal movie, Val Kilmer pretty much almost walks away with the movie. Kurt Russell's fantastic. His Doc Holliday in that movie is an iconic portrayal. And the fact that he was not even nominated for an Oscar is a travesty. He should have won it. I don't even know who won that year, who was nominated. But the fact that he was not even nominated for Tombstone is ridiculous. That performance is phenomenal. Probably one of his best, if not his best performance in any film. I highly recommend, if you have not seen Tombstone, I highly recommend it. And if you've seen it, go watch it again. The performance is phenomenal. His line readings, the way he portrays the character, he goes through the severe weight loss that Doc Holliday was, because Doc Holliday obviously was suffering from tuberculosis and was very thin, frail, and close to death at the time they tell the story in Tombstone. Obviously, the gunfight at the OK Corral. He's phenomenal in Tombstone. So after this film, so obviously this is probably right here in this time period, 1990 to 1995 is probably the peak of his stardom. So after Tombstone, he is recruited to play Batman. So of course, the first two Batman films were directed by Tim Burton, starring Michael Keaton as Batman. So after Batman Returns, Tim Burton leaves, Michael Keaton leaves. So obviously, a new director, a new star. So Joel Schumacher, the fantastic director, was brought on board to direct Batman Forever, and Val Kilmer was chosen to play Batman. So again, another mini review. Batman Forever is an okay movie. There was parts of it I liked. Some of it I didn't like. It was a hit or miss movie for me. Uh, Val Kilmer's performance as Bruce Wayne was fine. I think he played him more as a debonair, roguish Bruce Wayne than Michael Keaton's more grounded, serious, no humor Bruce Wayne, even though Michael Keaton's inherently funny. But Val Kilmer's portrayal, which I think was the direction Schumacher wanted to go in, because at the time, I believe Warner Brothers was unhappy with Batman Returns in the sense, even though it was successful, is that they thought that the Tim Burton movies were quote unquote getting too dark. And I think they wanted to lighten the tone. And Schumacher agreed with that, did that. And then you can see the lighter tone in Batman Forever. And of course, the horrendous Batman and Robin, which we won't even get into right now, since it didn't star Kilmer anyway. So Kilmer was fine as Batman, big role, got to play it. Now, also in 1995, on the positive end, he is cast in Michael Mann's classic Heat, with, of course, a fantastic, probably one of the best crime movies ever made. And, of course, he's in a cast with Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Tom Sizemore, Michael T. Williamson, Ashley Judd, Tom Noonan. I mean, I'm missing a ton of people in the film. Hank Azaria is in it for a small role. And, of course, written and directed by the fantastic Michael Mann. He's one of the crew that's robbing banks. He's fantastic, as he always is. Of course, that movie's famous for the heist shootout that takes place in the middle of the film, which is unbelievably shot. One of the greatest action sequences or shootouts ever put to film. So he's in that film as well. And like I said, at this point, I think he's at the high point of his career. Now, after Heat, this is where it kind of slopes down a little bit. Now, what I will say is he was in a film called The Ghost in the Darkness that came out in 96, a year later, with him and Michael Douglas, which I think is a very good movie. Michael Douglas is always great. Val Kilmer is good as well. He was in The Saint, which was a movie version of the 1960s television series that starred Roger Moore as Simon Templar, which was actually funny because he ended up playing James Bond, but it was kind of he was a spy in that show. So The Saint was the big screen version. Val Kilmer was going in different disguises, and it was supposed to be a showcase for his versatility. I'm trying to remember if I've seen The Saint. It's been so long. I don't think I have. And if I did, I don't remember. But I think it's become a cult movie. It was financially unsuccessful. So that movie really didn't help him ascend. And then he was in the ill-fated Island of Dr. Moreau, which was one of Marlon Brando's late films. And the movie was a disaster. The director, John Frankenheimer, who directed The Manchurian Candidate, was directing this film. The director hated the stars hated the director. Marlon Brando was being Marlon Brando, and it was an absolute disaster. So that movie obviously didn't do well, flopped. It was bad. And so at the end of the 90s, Val Kilmer was kind of just out there. He was still working, doing smaller budget films and things like that. So my take on Val Kilmer, and people have wrote this too, and as I've talked about on this podcast, I am a champion for the character actor. And, with the passing of Gene Hackman, who's one of my, he was in my top 5 of actors of all time. And I love character actors. And the thing about Val Kilmer, he was a kind of like Brad Pitt, I would compare him to, as an actor that had leading man good looks, had leading man charisma, but in his heart and in his soul was a character actor. His best roles were roles where he could inhabit a character and make it his own, which is the essence of what a character actor is. And I think Val Kilmer did that on several occasions to beautiful results. And I know in the 2000s, He had kind of a renaissance. I know he was in the Shane Black film Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. I saw it once a long time ago. I may need to rewatch it. I remember watching it the first time. I think I was a little disappointed in it. I know it was critically acclaimed and that, and it was a big deal because that was Robert Downey Jr.'s kind of comeback right before Iron Man. But Val Kilmer plays a gay hitman in it, and I remember him being very good because he's always very good. And then off movie sets, I just remember watching in the news his portrayal of Mark Twain that he would tour around the country playing Mark Twain, and it was a and seeing the interviews. I highly recommend the documentary that came out a couple years ago, Val. That's got footage. He's shot footage his entire life. He was one of the first people to have a video camera in the early '80s. So he has footage from him and Sean Penn and people when they were young before they got big, and then it kind of chronicles his career as well. And Mark Twain meant a lot to him. He was deeply moved by Mark Twain, the author, the stories that Mark Twain wrote, and he portrayed him on a one-man show across the country that he toured with. And he was a poet, he was a painter. So he was a true artist in the sense of the word, not just a movie actor. And I think being a movie star, I mean, I don't know how much it interested him or didn't. I think he cared about doing really good work. And of course, I'm sure he enjoyed the perks. I mean, he dated Cher. He enjoyed the perks of being a superstar, movie star of a high level for a pretty good number of years. And I think and I know also know he difficult, and that may or may be true. But what happens is, I think with somebody like him, I think he really wanted to push the envelope on his art. And when you do that, you're inevitably going to have conflicts. And what happens is, like in Hollywood, anywhere else, once you become someone that's termed a problem, they don't want to work with you pretty much. And then he had the double issue of having a reputation of being difficult with having movies that were not successful commercially. And when you have that combination, that's deadly because if you're a huge star, if you're Leonardo DiCaprio, if you're Brad Pitt, if you're Tom Hanks, if you're a star on that level, if you are quote unquote difficult to work with, people don't care. They deal with it. If the movies you are in make hundreds of millions of dollars, you can be a complete asshole and people will deal with it. But when you are difficult and the movies aren't doing well, they're not going to be seeking you out. So he, like I said, I think after the 2000s, he kind of floated in and out of he did looking at his IMDb to TV. He still did film work. I think he did a lot of B movies, which nothing wrong with that, and kind of maintained his career. Did voiceover work. I was surprised he did a lot of cameos on television shows as well. Now I want to, as I wrap this up, obviously I want to get to his last. I think his last performance. I didn't check his the IMDb. It may be his last performance. Let me double check here. Okay, so yes. So of course, as I mentioned earlier in the episode, Top Gun, 1986, Iceman, iconic character in that film. So of course, 2022, Top Gun Maverick comes out, the highly anticipated sequel. You can see my review of Top Gun Maverick if you go into the back catalog of the podcast. So obviously one of the highlights, I remember before I get into that, I remember when the press for Top Gun Maverick was coming out and they confirmed that Val Kilmer was going to be in the movie, which of course I think excited fans and me as well. And of course, me knowing his health challenges, my question was, how are they going to incorporate him into the story? How big of a part of the story was he going to play? What was he going to do? So of course, Top Gun Maverick, to my shock, and I think a lot of people's utter shock, is a fantastic sequel and a fantastic standalone movie on its own. And Val Kilmer's part was substantial in the sense was his presence was there. And when he shows up in the film and his scene with Maverick, with Tom Cruise, it's emotional because you know his health challenges, he has his inability to speak, and the way they did the scene with him typing out dialogue, but his interaction with Tom Cruise, you can tell that they've been friends forever. You can tell that Tom Cruise wanted him there, was happy that he was there, and that Val Kilmer was happy to be there. It was a very poignant part of the film, and the way they did it, and then ending with him saying a couple of lines to Maverick, it's fantastic. And I'm very, very grateful that Tom Cruise saw within it to make sure that Iceman was part of the movie, however small the part would have been, that the movie wouldn't have been the same without him. It still would have been a good movie, but it would have been missing something if he was not there. So the fact that he was able to do that and his portrayal is immortalized is fantastic. So of course, if you haven't seen Top Gun Maverick, if you're a fan of the first movie, I mean, please, you got to see it. It's phenomenal, phenomenal, shockingly fantastic sequel to a movie that I thought would never get a sequel, and if there was going to be a sequel, it was going to be hot garbage, and I was completely wrong on that. So again, I'm glad we had the career of Val Kilmer. He was a fantastic actor, and he poured himself into his roles. And it's very sad that he has passed away at the age of 65. That's definitely way too young. Like I said, as I get older and the Gen Xer that I am, to see people that you loved in film passing away is always a sad thing. And I am going to have his movies forever to watch, and people that are fans will have that as well. So rest in peace, Val Kilmer. We appreciate all the work that you did. All right. So I want to thank you for listening to the podcast. Again, you can listen wherever you get your podcast. The handle is at Bend Your Ear Pod. That's the handle for all the socials, Instagram, X, and YouTube. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel if you could. You'll get notifications when the show goes live. And if you listen to the show again, please subscribe. You'll get notifications when new episodes become available. Please rate and review wherever you watch or listen to the show. Again, I'm looking to grow the show in 2025, and those reviews are extremely important to raise the profile of the show in the algorithm. So if people are looking for a movie podcast to check out, they will hopefully see it as a result of your ratings and review. If you can do that, that's great. And again, if you have the ability to financially support the show, QR code is right up here on the top of the screen, or you can go to the X page at Bend Your Ear Pod and click on there to help contribute. Also, the website is letmebendyourear.com. All the episodes are available there. You can download them from episode 1 and listen at your leisure if you don't use a podcast feed. So again, thank you for all the support. I really appreciate it. If you want to email the show, the email is bendyourearpodcast@gmail.com. Again, very sad to hear about Val Kilmer, but the good thing about things like this, when actors pass away, their work lives on forever, and it's always there for you to watch and enjoy. So again, thank you for listening to the podcast.